Ivan, appreciate you making some time for us this morning. Before we get into the college football topic that's been percolating on everyone's mind, tell us about your new venture with On3 Sports.
Well, I'm happy to, and thanks for having me. The business guys behind On3 are the same guys out of Nashville, Shannon Terry, Bobby Burton, who started Rivals.com years ago and sold it to Yahoo, and then started 24/7 Sports and sold it to CBS. So this is their new venture, and they want to combine what they've always done really well, which is a incredible recruiting coverage and a love for the passion of football with storytelling. And storytelling is what I do and have done for many years. And we are in the process of hiring a staff of very good writers, guys that and hopefully women that I have known in press boxes for a long time. And we go online next month, so hope everybody gives us a chance.
We know with Nikki Chavanel, who's a friend of ours here at ESPN Arkansas, she's real excited. I don't know, Matt ZenitsAL.com, Chad Simmons, you do have some quality people that you get to work with. And we got a chance to catch up just for a minute or two at SEC Media Days this last week. And right before you left for ACC Media Days, I guess following the following day, the news broke about Texas and Oklahoma. And I know we're still trying to figure things out. There's sources everywhere. There's statements everywhere. Ivan, are you under the impression that Texas and Oklahoma will join the league as early as next year, or is it going to be more in the ballpark of 2025?
Well, I think that's one of the 43,000 details that's got to be ironed out. I would think the wheels in this sort of thing move pretty slowly. It may get increasingly untenable or uncomfortable for Texas and OU to stick around the league. It would not surprise me if it were to accelerate and happen in 23, but it may be that they time it to twin up with when the SEC ESPN contract kicks in. So, that's just one thing we're all going to, have to wait and see how it unfolds.
Ivan, this is Clay Henry. Good to talk to you again.
Hey, Clay.
Texas and what they like to do in the behind-the-scenes board meetings and the considerable wait. It's distasteful for teams like Arkansas from, past history. And then, you saw Nebraska bolt. Do you think the Texas people understand that the SEC is one team, one vote?
Well, they must. And I would, if they can't read that room, Clay, then there's no room they'll ever be able to read. They had, it looks like it's a step by Texas to, for lack of a better phrase, to join the people who have made it, to join the most elite league. So just by doing it, I think there's an admission in there that, we're stepping up. So I can't imagine they're going to walk in and expect, that they're going to be first among equals. That's first of all, it's not how the SEC has worked ever, and I think if the SEC suspected that, they'd tell Texas to take a hike, so to me, I think there's a tacit admission there that Texas just, wants to be, one of 16.
The heavyweights that they're going to play on a week-to-week basis, Oklahoma and Texas, are they equipped right now to, to pull off some 11-1 seasons, or are they fixing to find out that this is take your licks as you go?
Well, Texas can't go 11-1 in the Big 12, so I don't know why. to me, the one place this does not make sense is between the sidelines on the football field. Now, nobody has been able to keep pace with Alabama. And if we're saying, can Oklahoma go 11-1 in the SEC? Nobody's been able to beat Alabama consistently for more than a decade. So I don't know that that's a fair assessment. The fact that Oklahoma has been a consistent qualifier for the playoff, I think you can assume that, as long as Lincoln Riley is there, that they will, they'll be able to hold their own. What's interesting about that is I think, Lincoln is a young coach who obviously has got a great deal of ambition. And I could see very easily where the Big 12 was getting to be, that he would have been looking to the NFL for more, for the next step in his career. And now he's got the next step in his career and can stay at Oklahoma. So in that sense, I think for the Sooners, it may allow them to keep Lincoln Riley for a few more years.
They can win in the SEC and be 9-3. Yeah,
and is that and 9-3 in this SEC might get you to the playoff. I guess it would depend on 10-3 certainly by the time and even 9-3. You're right, because you may not have qualified for the SEC championship, whatever iteration.
Might not have made it out of your pod.
Yeah. Pod number 3 champion. I mean, there's a ring for you. What defines success now in this league is going to be very interesting, and as if there's not enough pressure on coaches and kids now to win every game. I mean, this is, I'm sure, going to ratchet all that up.
Ivan Maisel with us here on the Morning Rush on 3 Sports. Ivan, Clay just brought up the pods. Are you a fan of 2 divisions, or would you rather see the pod format with what could be the new SEC?
Well, I just would have to know more. I mean, I like the way the pod was set up. The one example I saw of the pod was, it seemed like it was a better way of getting more schools to play each other, which has been the great flaw in the SEC's scheduling, scheduling model that they use now. A&M, who is it, Georgia, that still hasn't been to College Station, the pod model seems like it would allow everybody to play everybody more regularly. And I think that if you're going to be in a conference, then that's a good thing.
Yeah, you brought up an occurrence that is kind of weird, but that's kind of how it is. And I wonder for these kids, now we know a lot of, especially the more talented players, they'll leave after their junior year because that's when they're draft eligible. But if you're talking to potential prospects, high school recruits, Ivan, how important is it to tell them you can play in every SEC venue if you stay here 4 years? Or against every team?
That's a point that Nick Saban has made more than once. There are some teams and a lot of stadiums that kids never get a chance to see, and they're in the same league. But the SEC has been adamant about staying in 8 conference games, and if you're going to have 16 schools, maybe that will be the magic. The magic wand that will make them go to 9. I doubt it, but we can always hope. And it's there's all sort of possibilities that this thing has opened up, and that one's just not at the top of the list.
Go ahead, Clay.
Ivan, when you changing gears a little bit here, when you look at Arkansas and where Sam Pittman, what he inherited and what he did last year, winning 3 SEC games and, getting the shaft at Auburn. It's what do you expect from Sam, and can he, handle what looks like to be an elevated SEC and possibly, regular games against Oklahoma and Texas?
Well, look, one of the bright spots of this to me is the fact that, Texas and Arkansas will be reunited. I mean, because I'm like you, I'm old enough to remember when that was an event. But I thought Sam did a terrific job last year. It's typical for first-year coaches to struggle, especially when the way they want to play is radically different from the guy they're replacing. And yet there was an energy and in incredibly difficult circumstances, Sam infused the Hogs with an energy and a cohesion and a spirit that you hadn't seen there in a while. And I thought that meant this guy knows what he wants to do as a head coach and knows how to do it. And so that made me a lot more upbeat about Arkansas. And I'm not trying to change the subject, Clay, but you're one of the few guys I could ask this and get a good answer. What do you think Frank Broyles would think about this whole thing?
That's what I wrote yesterday, Ivan. It's the headline was, "What took you so long?" And of course, he wanted to bring Texas. I don't think Oklahoma was in the discussion, but he thought that Texas and Texas A&M would come along, and I think he told Roy Kramer that, and that there was great disappointment across the SEC when Texas couldn't make that exit because of political pressure. But it was always a thought that Texas was a key player in the expansion, and they weren't able to cut those deep ties with those schools. Eventually, Texas A&M was able to do that, but I think Coach Broyles would approve.
Good to know.
Well, Ivan, we'll leave it there. Glad you got a chance to catch up with Clay, and glad you got a chance to catch up with our audience this morning, because I know a lot of them have read you over the years, and we'll have to catch up as we enter into college football season, 39 days out from Razorback football. Ivan, appreciate you hopping on with us.
Good luck, Ivan, with that. That sounds like a good project.
Well, thanks. Launch date's August 15th, but we'll be posting stuff beginning next week. So thanks for having me, and we'll talk.
Absolutely. Ivan Maisel now again, as he mentioned, with On 3 Sports.